The story so far. SPIDER, the Superpowered International Defensive Enforcement Resource, is an organization consisting of all the world's superheroes. Eve Halloran, codenamed All Hallows Eve, is a cadet who wields the holy power of the harvest fire. These are her adventures.
You're probably wondering why I called you here, the old man said. He didn't look at me as he spoke. He just stared into the empty fireplace with his grip tight on an automatic. He sat slouched in a dull, high-backed chair, a man as withered as the dilapidated manor in which he lived. Just about the only thing that worked in this house was the record player, which spun an old single called Steamboat Bill. Even with the music, the place held little charm. Everything of value was sold off years ago. Even the lights didn't work. And he didn't look at me. He just stared. As a matter of fact, I replied. I conjured a ball of blue harvest fire and held it in my hand for illumination. Still, he didn't look at me. I know what you can do, he said. I saw you beat that monster spider back in the 50s. What did they call it? Mutantula? I was impressed. That's why I need you now. I need protection. From who? Not who, he continued. I heard a light scurry inside the wall. Mice? Rats? Who knows? The old man closed his eyes and began his tale. You've lived in Montreal long enough to know it's a port city. Well, back in 28, there wasn't a ship in the harbor that was there without my say-so. I remember that one steamboat as though I saw her yesterday. The HMS Willie, that was her name. Her captain was a mean old man. Pete, that was his name, and he had a crew of 2. Some young boy called Mickey and his girl. He took a deep breath. Those 2 kids, the way they laughed, it could bring a smile to any man's face. But not Pete's. That old cat was cruel to them just for the sake of being cruel. He was greedy too. I swear he never paid them. I turned a blind eye, thinking that the merchandise he brought would be worth it. Another scurry in the wall, but the old man didn't seem to hear it. Was it? I asked. He dropped his gun and buried his head in his hands. He was smuggling for you, wasn't he? I said. The man nodded. He looked at me at last. His eyes. It was the Prohibition years, he said. Nowadays, nobody blames me for it. They're all too stoned to care. But back then, it was a dangerous trade. And Pete wanted out. And Pete wanted out. Unfortunately for him and his crew, there's only one way out of the smuggling business. I set the timer myself and watched the ship explode in the distance. Their bones are still somewhere off the shore of old Montreal. And you think their ghosts are after you? With my free hand, I lifted the needle off of the record so we could have a little quiet. Only the tune didn't end. Somewhere in the walls, someone was whistling the same song. It's him, the old man said as he covered his ears, day and night since the day he died. Day and night. He's coming for me. Mickey is coming. I followed the sound of the whistling, away from the fireplace. Away from the old man. But that proved to be a mistake. The sound stopped and was replaced by a brief, squeaky laugh. And I heard my host slump forward onto the floor. I ran back to him and saw his frozen face contorted with terror. Gnawing on his finger was a tiny mouse, covered in black fur. The doctor said it was a heart attack that killed the old man. I can't help but wonder, though, what was it about a little black mouse that could frighten a hardened crime lord to death? The end.
All Hallows Eve is the open-source creation of David Evely. She may be used by anyone, totally free of copyright. She is not to be confused with Marvel's Hallows Eve, who debuted 11 years later. Mickey Mouse is the public domain creation of Walt Disney. Official canon for this series is your imagination.